Hi, my name is Alisher, and today I would like to talk about the optimizer. Now, what is the optimizer? I think the best way to describe it would be that it's a supplementary tool to Clicklflare. Now, if you don't know what Clicklflare is, I would highly recommend you watching the video called The Importance of Clicklflare, where I describe what it is, what is it for, and how does it function. So, but in short, it's a tracker. And a tracker and its main goal is to gather information from multiple sources and put it into one place. So, for example, it can take revenue and conversions from your feed provider, like Domain Active or Tonic, and then connect it and show it in one place alongside costs that come from your traffic source, like Facebook, TikTok, or Taboola. Right? And so basically, the optimizer does a lot of the same things, but instead of taking information directly from your upstream advertiser, it takes information from two sources. It takes information from Clicklflare or any of the other tracker that you may be using, and it also taking information directly from the traffic source like Facebook, TikTok, Taboola, right? So again, takes information from tracker, takes information from the traffic source, and combines it in one place. But once again, what is the point of it? What is the point of it rather than just using Clicklflare and that's it? Well, the idea is that it does have a few neat features that might make it worth it and might make it worthwhile to use this extra tool. By the way, the data that you can see in the background, it's from a long time ago. It's from November of 2023. The reason why I picked that time period, it's because I wanted to not leak anything that we have going on right now. But yeah, I decided to pick a pretty calm month when we were just starting out, basically. But yeah, here you can see some of the healthy numbers that you can see, as you scale up. If you see 20% ROI and like a bit about 0.05 EPC, you're fine. These are normal average numbers. We have grown compared to that, of course, but back then these numbers were pretty good for us. But now that would be a little not enough. Right now we're doing much better. But anyway, this is just an example of how your interface can look if you're gonna be running through Optimizer. So yeah, you'll be able to see a lot of the important information right here in the dashboard. But let's go ahead and take a look at some of the things that are here that are not in Clicklflare. So one of the neat things that you can do is, let me go to campaigns over here. So here I have one of the campaigns opened, right? And basically what it does is it shows you a lot of the relevant information specific to that campaign. It shows you how much you've spent, how much revenue you got, how much how much is your profit, what is your ROI or return on investment, right? So it basically shows you all the information right here, which is very nice. But one of the important things that it does, as you can see right behind me, essentially, it shows you the information specific to each ad, right? So you can see which ad performs better, which ad performs worse. You can immediately turn certain ads off right here in the optimizer. So it's just a very nice and easy way to visually see how are your ads performing, which ones are good and which ones are bad, if we scroll down a little bit, we can see that some are negative, and that's why they were like, they're still technically running, but this campaign has been long forgotten because, yeah, it's a very old campaign at this point. But yeah, you can see the performance of every ad specifically over here, and that's very, very nice. You can have a similar thing in Clicklflare, but it's not nearly as convenient as it's shown here. Because here you can see, again, the name of the ad, the preview. You can even click on the preview to watch the ad straight from here. That's very, very nice. Yeah, it's just a very neat feature that is not present in Clicklflare, or it's present, it's just not as convenient as it is here, right? And also you can do the same thing on your ad sets if you click over here, right? And the main thing, but this is all just nice. This is just nice little things that can be useful for you as an advertiser. But these are just makes just little convenient tools that they have, right? But the meat of the optimizer, the main selling point that it has is its rules. And I already have them here opened up. And basically, the rules is something that we never really had too much of a success here at Inspirit, and we tried using them, but we found them to be not consistent enough for them to be justified. But these rules can really, really work for you. It can do a lot of amazing things for you. So, what are these rules? These are essentially like things that you can set up and say, let's say a campaign have spent more than $50, but it has negative ROI. If the system checks that, and if it's true, then the campaign gets paused, right? That's one of the examples of what these rules can do. By talking to the optimizer representative, they recommended to keep the rules very, very simple. The simpler, the better, the more consistent they would be. But yeah, let us go through the example. So let's go into these global rules. I'll talk about regular rules and global rules a little bit later, but let's take a look at the example. Let's say, as you can see here, you can have multiple actions of what you can do. Like let's say start geos, pause geos, like pause activate campaigns, block widgets. Like widgets are mostly for like Tabula and stuff like that, but yeah. Let's go with something simple and go through the same example that I have just said, right? So pause campaign, right? We give some sort of name. We can add rules into groups if you want. This is basically so that it would be easier to sort through them. You can pick of what kind of data it would be looking at. Let's say only like again today, yesterday data, or maybe like it can be checking this whole month and see if you want like a more global type rule. Let's go today and yesterday. That's where it's going to be looking. Again, you can also exclude certain days, like let's say you want last month but not counting today and yesterday, right? And here is where you kind of like say the like specific rules. Let's say spend or cost, amount spent, right? Uh, if amount spent is greater than $50, let's say, right? Greater than $50. And then we can add a secondary rule. Let's say if the amount spent is greater than $50 and let's say ROI and traffic sort. I think it would be tracker fields, ROI tracker. And if ROI is less or equals, let's say 0, right? So it's less than 0 if, let's say, ROI is in the negative, then the global rule itself, like pause campaign, will enable. So essentially, if both of these things are happening at this happened, right? If the more than $50 happened and ROI has been less than 0, then the campaign will be stopped automatically. You can also choose which ad accounts will have this rule enabled, right? And how often this will be checked. Let's say it can be checked every 10 minutes, or it can be checked once a week, let's say, right? And this is also like an option that says like alert only means that it will just send you an email that says like, hey, you have this campaign where it happened. You have more than $50 spent and you have less than 0 ROI, right? Execute would mean that will just stop the campaign and that's it. And execute an alert means that you will both get an email that it happened and also email that the campaign was stopped, essentially, right? So it will happen automatically. So I think you hopefully get the idea. Basically, if you have a lot of campaigns, if you do a lot of testing, this can be pretty nice to automate a lot of the processes, right? And if you, again, take a look, you can do a lot of things this way. Change like bids, you can like start or clone, you can even clone ads, you can do a lot of things thanks to these rules, right? So you can even automate your scaling this way. But again, automation can be a little scary because sometimes domain active just doesn't give the information on time because of some technical difficulties. Sometimes something can go wrong in TikTok and it will not give the information in time as well. So this is why we were recommended to keep the rules simple, and this is why we kind of stayed away from rules ourselves. But for certain type of people, uh, this these rules can be amazing. They can be very, very useful. And let me talk about a little bit more about the new rule and the new global rule. So global rules are rules that are applied not per campaign, but per ad account, right? So it will apply to all of the automatically to all the campaigns that are within a certain ad account, right? And rules are only applied per campaign, right? So this is a pretty big difference. And if you are, again, a person that does a lot of campaigns, creates a lot of new campaigns, this you'll have to manually update your rules and add new campaigns to them. Now, why did they separate these two rules? Well, it's due to pricing. And now that we have taken a look at what the optimizer can do, what kind of nice things it has inside of it, let's take a look at the pricing and see if it's justifiable to have this tool as your addition to Clicklflare. So let's take a look at this page, right? And we don't need that. As we can see, the optimizer has 3 tiers of the subscription, and the most important things, at least to us, was we essentially kind of like started at the starter, but as we grew in size, we moved on to master. And so the main differences between starter and master is the multi-user. This is very simple, very similar to what I have described in the Clicklflare video. If you have a lot of, if you're not working solo, but you have a whole team working with you or for you, you can separate these users and appoint, let's say this user only has these ad accounts and this user can only see these ad accounts and stuff like that. So it can be important for for security reasons to have this enabled, to separate your buyers and allow them to only see their own campaigns. And these global rules that I mentioned here, right, the rules that apply to the whole ad account instead of a campaign, they are also locked behind this $700 a month payment plan. And another important thing to consider is the monthly spend. Just like the way it is in Clicklflare. Clicklflare is based on the revenue events or like conversions. The optimizer is based on the spend. If you are spending, let's say on the starter plan that is $200, if you're spending more than $20,000 in your traffic source, let's say TikTok, a month, then for every cent spent, you will be paying a percentage, like 1% of that spend. So let's say you have spent $20,001, you will be paying overage, which is 1% from that $1 overpayment, which would be 1 cent. Does that make sense? So basically, if you're spending a lot in your traffic sources, then it would make sense to move on to the higher tier as well, because the overage would be smaller and you will be able to spend more without having to worry about overage. So as we can see, it's a pretty expensive tool, even at the lowest tier. Clicklflare is much, much cheaper at its lowest option. So I feel like the optimizer is only kind of like a tool that needs to be used if you are already successful. I think that would be the best way to describe it. If you're doing good, if you're scaling a lot, and you feel like this can be an amazing tool to automate a lot of the things, I think it's worth the try. There's a 15-day free trial. Once again, we're not affiliated with the optimizer. This video is not paid. It's just my personal opinion. And I feel like it can be, once you have established yourself, once you kind of familiarized yourself with the search arbitrage, it can be interesting to try this tool, to connect it with Clicklflare and try these rules and see if it works for you. It didn't necessarily work for us, but each person, each buyer, each team is different, and this can be a game changer for you if you do it right. But once again, if it doesn't work for you, you can always just cancel and forget about it. But for us, we use it for certain purposes, like due to how convenient it is to see how do exact creatives perform. We use it to monitor policy, inner policy within the company, if the creatives are compliant or not. So for these purposes, the optimizer is very nice, but again, it's a pretty hefty price tag if you only use it for that. So yeah, hopefully you have learned more about the optimizer. I think hopefully you found this video interesting. And yeah, if you have any questions, as always, feel free to ask them in the comments. I will answer to the best of my abilities. And I hope you will have a wonderful day. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.